Hi, my name's Toby Pierce, and I'd like to share a devotional thought with you today. Did you watch the Super Bowl? Uh, Maybe you recorded it and watched it later. I know a lot of people did that. You know, you can watch the whole thing if you want to on YouTube, or you can watch just little pieces of it. You know, maybe you just want to see Malcolm Butler's interception, or maybe Kelsey's fumble, or maybe you're watching the part about Kelsey fussing at his coach after the fumble. Well, if you watch it more than once, you know what's going to happen before it happens, right? I mean, you can know that Malcolm Butler is going to intercept the ball. You can know that Kelsey's going to fumble. You can know that Kelsey's going to fuss at his coach. Why? Well, because you've seen it already. You can know what's going to happen. But now, you can't do anything to change what's going to happen, can you? Maybe you didn't want Kelsey to fuss at his coach, or maybe you didn't want Malcolm to make that interception. You can't change it. But now, Kelsey could have changed his behavior, could have acted differently, couldn't he? Of course he could. But in the replay, the video doesn't change. In the moment, Kelsey didn't have to behave the way that he did. He could have changed it. Well, that's how I like to think about how it is with the Lord. That God knows what people are going to do, but he doesn't make it happen. God's not bound by time. If he wants to know what's going to happen in the future, in our future, well, he can see it. Even Satan doesn't seem to be bound by time. In Luke 4 and verse 5, it says, "And the devil took him," Jesus, "up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time." Well, God knows what's going to happen. And he plans for certain things to happen. In Acts 2 and verse 23, it says, "This man, Jesus, delivered over by the predetermined plan and foreknowledge of God, you nailed to a cross by the hands of godless men and put him to death." Now Peter makes it clear that the crucifixion of Jesus was no accident. That it was not some act of desperation or on the part of God. It was not some last-minute change of the original plan. It was predetermined plan. But this verse also links together divine knowledge and human choice. No one forced the Jewish leaders to crucify Jesus. So here we learn that God is able to use even the misdirected free will and selfish choices of people for his purposes. He used the Assyrians to punish Judah, even though the Assyrians had no intent to work God's purposes. He used the stubbornness of Pharaoh to glorify himself, even though Pharaoh had no interest in pleasing the God of the Jews. Exodus 9 and verse 16. Yet in all of this, and the choices that the Jews made, that the Pharaoh made, that the Assyrians made, they were all genuine choices. They were all their choices. Exodus 8:15, Isaiah 10 and verse 7 talk about that. You know, people tend to forget that there are things that God has purposely planned, such as the sacrifice of Jesus and the establishment of his church. Those things were certain. Ephesians 3, verses 10 and 11. On the other hand, there are things in the future that remain flexible. God decreed against the city of Nineveh Yet 40 days and Nineveh will be overthrown. Jonah 3 and verse 4. But the city repented, and the city was not overthrown. The future remains open. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, saying in Jeremiah 18 and verses 7 through 10, it says, if at any time, this is the Lord speaking through Jeremiah, if at any time I declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will pluck up and break down and destroy it, if that nation concerning which I have spoken thus turns from its evil, I will relent of the disaster that I intended to do to it. And if at any time I declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will build up and plant it, and if it does evil in my sight, not listening to my voice, then I will relent of the good that I had intended to do to it. Again, that's from Jeremiah 18, 7 through 10. God told Hezekiah to put his house in order, for he was going to die. And Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, and God granted him 15 additional years of his life. Isaiah 38, verses 1 through 5. The eternal reward or condemnation of anyone is not so fixed that they cannot alter it by their own free will choices. 2 Timothy 2, 11 through 13 says, the saying is trustworthy, for if we have died with him, we will also live with him. If we endure with him, we will also reign with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us. If we are faithless, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself. Do we sometimes stand paralyzed in the face of a situation? Or do we pray and realize that there are other options that could exist and that God will see us through these things? Have we lived up to what our future can be? God has the ability to see all possible variations of our lives, all the different choices that we might make. He can see what our finances are going to be, what our level of happiness is going to be, what our marriages will be like, our spiritual growth. How many people that perhaps we might influence with the gospel, our level of learning and experience, and so on, our growth. It's so easy for some people to say, well, this is just what was meant to be, and just kind of resign their lives to what they would call fate. Well, that's just wrong. We have a definite say in our obedience, in our growth, in our level of happiness, and our maturity in the Lord. So before you pass up a great opportunity to serve the Lord, ask yourself, how will this affect my future? Will doing this help me grow, or will doing this deprive me of some spiritual growth? Each day, each moment, we're building that relationship with God. We're making choices, good ones, I hope. I hope you'll read his word, that you'll pray to him, that you'll make wise choices. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you for listening.
If you would like more information, or if you'd like to participate in our Bible studies and worship services, we would love to have you come join us at the Northeast Church of Christ in Albuquerque, New Mexico.